saw this card actually in a deck. I think it was back in Odyssey block or Onslaught block. True Believer
it's from
was
Onslaught. It's a white leyline on a 2/2.
Yeah, it's basically you can't be targeted by your opponent. So very good off of Aether Vial.
So this is one of those matchups that's usually is very good for lands. As we saw lands when it took down our Open last weekend being played, it is excellent against the creature decks. It is operating on a completely different axis. And we see that right now as Marsh has kind of started to set up. You see a lot of lands in play for him. He has Maze of Ith. Looks like he has a Punishing Fire in the yard. He's not set up some of his more traditional locks. The deck usually seeks to Wasteland, Maze of Ith, Reshad Import, and Punishing Fire are like the core pieces that once it gets them all together with Life from the Loam, your opponent can't play lands, can't attack with creatures.
Yeah, he's got like Glacial Chasms, he's got Maze of Ith, he's got Karakas, he's got Tendrils, Tabernacle, Pendrell. He's got so many lands that are just difficult for the Death Taxes deck to deal with. And even if they do manage to Wasteland you, he's got Life from the Loam engine. So.
Yes, you see he does have Loam going this game. He has not found the Punishing Fire, the Grove of the Burn Willows yet, but that may just be the piece he's missing. So you see Gamble cast by Marsh.
And Gamble's great in this deck because he can find basically any piece he wants, and because of Life from the Loam, he's going to be able to get it even if Gamble does hit it.
Doesn't matter which place it goes to. Graveyard or hand, it's going to end up in Marsh's on the battlefield for him.
Yeah, so it's nice to have be able to play 4 effectively demonic tutors in your deck, you know?
Yeah, which costs for half the price.
For half the price.
Just a red.
So, yeah, Gamble is one of those cards that really makes lands look incredible sometimes just because it has so many good silver bullets to go for.
All right, well, there's a couple of bullets he can go for. He can go for Grove of the Burn Willows to set up the Punishing Grove interaction in that lock. He can also go for Dark Depths here and just try to make Merit Lage.
Yeah, because I think he does have the I think he does have the
he has the Thespian
stage in play, so he could go for that, although it's a little risky if Brian does have the Source to Plowshare.
All right, so we'll see Gamble. You can search up any card, and then you have to discard a card. It's kind of the Goblin tutor.
Yeah.
Sometimes you discard the card you find, which is, the drawback of it.
So let's see here. You think he went for it? I mean, again, he does have Life from Loam, and because of Maze of Ith, he's not really under that much pressure, although it looks like he's at 9.
Yeah, he's under some pressure. Because they had 7 cards, he's first going to randomly determine which half of the hand it's going to be from. This is a pseudo-random. It's still random. It's just a little complicated.
And it was
the Burn Willows was discarded. I don't know if it's a card Marsh found. I think it is.
So it looks like his hand is, unsurprisingly, a lot of lands.
Well, he plays 35, so...
And it looks like he does have a Dark Depths in his hand as well. So, it could have been the one he went for.
Yeah. Now, Embry may be able to get this game. He's going to go ahead and Wasteland away that Maze of Ith.
Wow, and here comes a Sword of Fire Ice. So, yeah, looks like he should be able to win this game. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, this is a lethal swing unless Marsh has an answer. I don't believe there is one in his deck. He could crop rotate for Maze of Ith if he has one in his hand.
That's true. Or Glacial Chasm.
Or Glacial Chasm.
Yeah, so crop rotation isn't out for him.
So a possible lethal swing at Marsh. We'll see, does he have the crop rotation? 1, 2, 3. That's 6. That is a swing of 9. That should be enough. And we are on to game 3.
Wow, so Marsh loses game 2. Brian Embry was able to steal the game there with a timely Wasteland on a although, yeah, I don't think, even if he did get the Punishing Fire, I don't think it would have mattered, really.
Yeah. So a little background, Marsh Usury, someone who's been on the edges of the pro scene for a while, kind of in and out, was a member of the U.S. national team, I believe, in 2008, I want to say. Pro or from North Carolina, I believe.
Mm. So after board, Brian Embry, he does have, we're in game 3 now, so I wonder, Brian has 4 copies of Enlightened Tutor, 4 Grand Abolishers, 2 Helm of Obedience, 1 Humility, 1 Manrique Gusari, 2 Rest in Peace, and 1 Sword of Light and Shadow. A pretty interesting sideboard here. He really went for the Enlightened Tutor package. I can see him bringing in the Enlightened Tutors, along with the Helm of Obedience, and definitely the Rest in Peace. Rest in Peace, obviously very good against the Life from the Loam deck. But in particular, I think since he's bringing in the Rest in Peace, I also think he's bringing in the Helm of Obedience package too, because that is a way for him to sort of combo kill the land deck when the land deck tries to get this sort of anti-creature board of, Glacial Chasm or Tabernacle or, Grave of the Burning Wells plus Punishing Fire. So Helm of Obedience plus Rest in Peace is a way for Brian to sort of combo kill his opponent.
Yeah, it's a way that wins without using the attack step, which is pretty important. Marsh has so many ways to really invalidate the attack step.
Yeah, between Maze of Ith and Glacial Chasm, there's just so many intangibles that you can't really rely on your creatures to always be able to kill them.
Now, the difficulty is that on his good draws, Marsh will do things that are broken enough that it doesn't matter what Brian does.
Yeah.
Turn 1, Exploration, Wasteland, next turn, reshould import. Things like this aren't really answerable by anything in Brian's deck.
Except for Aether Vial.
Aether Vial's very good.
So if Brian's able to go, turn 1 Aether Vial, turn 2 Rest in Peace, that's very good against Marsh's deck.
Yeah, Rest in Peace is fantastic. And as you see, Brian Embry on a mulligan here, he has to mulligan pretty aggressively to cards like that. Because of the presence of cards like Mana Bond and Exploration in Marsh's deck, Brian needs action immediately, and it has to be really centralized in just a couple cards.
Yeah, and the good thing about Marsh's deck is that his deck actually mulligans fairly well. So that's one of it's a lot of redundancy, and obviously you're never going to have many land light hands. So pretty good deck in terms of how well it mulligans.
So Embry on 6, trying to find one of those high impact answers, a way that he doesn't get buried. Marsh has kept a 7-card hand.
Yeah, and he has 2 Rest in Peace, and he has 4 Enlightened Tutors to find them. So let's see if that can be an impact in this game.
We'll see if he gets to play. We see a turn 1, Grow the Burn Willows from Marsh. And he's got one of the the 1-mana green spells. Could be Exploration, could be Mana Bond. Actually, could be Mox Diamond. That will pitch Maze of Ith. It's going to cast Exploration and and reshould import. And with that, he's going to give. I think he's going to loam here too. And he's going to go ahead and loam back the Maze.
Yeah,
this is a game where sometimes Marsh doesn't let Brian play. It's 3 mana on turn 1, including a loam engine and a reshould import.
Well, it's just 4 permanents in play. Big deal.
Well, normally there's this 1 land per turn rule, and Marsh is he's cheated on that one a couple times.
So Marsh likely gonna dredge back loam there, and he hits a Punishing Fire.
So now he's Punishing Grove going.
And a Tranquil Thicket too to kind of keep getting his card drawing engine there.
Yeah.
So
he will replace the dredge often of Tranquil Thicket with replace the draw of Tranquil Thicket with another dredge. So we see Life from the Loam gets back Tranquil Thicket. He's going to play Maze of Ith. That will keep any creatures off the board, which is what he got out of the yard. He's actually going to go ahead and lay the Tranquil Thicket.
Yeah, so interesting that he decided to interesting that he decided to play the Tranquil Thicket there. I thought maybe he'd want to use it to kind of dredge a little bit more, but there's that Rest in Peace that we were talking about.
And now Rest in Peace, that is huge. I am wondering, he allowed Brian the opportunity to untap with 2 lands there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought you're definitely going to cast Life from the Loam there, but do you use your Rashad import so that your Grove of the Burn Willows can actually cycle a Tranquil Thicket to get back that Loam in response to the Rest in Peace? Because you're likely going to have to play against that card after board. He does have ways to kind of kill the Rest in Peace. He has Crossing Grip in his sideboard, so he has ways to kill it.
But that's it.
It's very, very difficult to kind of beat that card.
Embry, between the Aether Vial will let him get around the Rishad import. It's possible that Embry has successfully navigated this lock. The Rest in Peace is huge. Marsh's best defense is to just mana deny, but he's not going to be able to do that thanks to Aether Vial.
Yeah, so here comes Stoneforge Mystic. He drew a Wasteland, or he had a Wasteland for the turn, so he can also deal with the Maze of Ith later on. So Marsh does not have that as defense, at least for the foreseeable future. Brian's going to cast Stoneforge Mystic. Likely going to search out, is it Sword of Fire and Ice or Batterskull?
We will see here. It looks like Marsh is going to have to draw a Crossing Grip, and even when he finds the grip, then he'll need a Life from the Loam to get his engine going again. So Embry's just going to try to win as quick as possible to stop that from happening, and that's going to be by finding Batterskull.
Yeah, so, and that's kind of the reason why you need to make sure that you can cycle that Tranquil Thicket to get that Loam back. Because like you said, even if he does find the Crossing Grip, he lost both the Punishing Fire and that Loam. So he's got to find a lot of the pieces right now, and he's under I wouldn't say a huge clock, but pretty soon that basilisk is going to come into play and start hitting pretty hard.
There is always a backup plan, and that's just make Merit Lage. As you see, Dark Depths is the play from Marsh Usury.
Yeah, he's gotta. It's going to be tough, but he doesn't. I don't believe he has that many. Without the Gaia's Cradle, I mean, without the Life from Loam, it's hard for him to really kind of find the lands he needs to set up that combo.
He has Crop Rotation and Gamble, both of which you could use to find the other half. Otherwise, he will just have to draw it. You're absolutely right.
And plus, there is a Wasteland in play on Brian's side of the board.
Yeah, so first he'd have to... Yeah, Embry may just waste away the Dark Depths to stop that from happening.
Yeah. So, because again, Marsh does have a Rashad import, so he could kind of tap the Wasteland at the end of the turn.
He actually
which it looks like he's tapping it now.
He tapped it during upkeep, and Brian actually allowed the tap to happen as opposed to wastelanding the Dark Depths. I think...
Well, that's risky because, like you said, if Marsh goes end of turn, crop rotate.
Yeah, well, there's a couple targets Brian would want to waste on the Dark Depths. He'd also want to wasteland the Mazavith. He did find a batter spell.
Yeah.
Mazavith does a great job of keeping that off.
So let's see here. He's got 4 copies of Thespian Stage in his deck.
Yep, 4 copies of Thespian Stage, 3 copies of Crop Rotation, 4 copies of Gamble. He has a lot of... Lands is probably one of the most redundant decks in Legacy.
Yeah. The problem is Crop Rotation is probably the only way he's going to be able to get out of the Wasteland lock, because it's hard for me to believe that, especially now with the second Mazavith in play, it's hard for me to believe that Brian won't just Wasteland the Dark Depths.
Yeah, Brian could just wait and try to find one of his 4 Enlightened Tutors or 2 Helm of Obediences and win that way, as opposed to, just foregoing the attack step completely.
Oh, well, so Brian draws a Caracas, so that's pretty good.
Well, that certainly makes Merit Lage less of a threat.
So it looks like Brian has Mother Runes in his hand. He has a Phyrexian Revoker as well. So Phyrexian Revoker, pretty good card in this situation.
Well, can name Mox Diamond. That's about it.
Well, can I name Mazavith as well?
Can't name land cards.
Oh, that's right, not land cards.
Which, yeah, against lands. But no, I think the only live name it has is Mox Diamond, actually, against the deck. But that said, that's not a bad card to name. It's LDing the lands opponent. The thing is about lands is when you take away the cogs of the deck really is just a stack of lands. It doesn't have that much going for it. When it's not doing broken things, it's really not doing much.
Yeah, when you Rest in Peace is just such a beating against this deck.
Yeah. As it is against a lot of decks, land certainly is a deck that needs the graveyard.
So here we see a Phyrexian Invoker come into play. I guess Mox Diamond's really the only hard name there.
Go ahead and name it.
So, yeah, Marsh doesn't have that much mana now. He has, like, basically a Rashad Import, a Tranquil Thicket, and a Grove of the Burnwillows. That's really the only... Despite having 6 lands in play, he only has 3 that can actually tap for mana.
He'll go ahead and he'll keep using that Rishon Import on the Wasteland. What that does do is that if Marsh draws a Wasteland, he can waste the Wasteland.
Yep.
He'd have to waste the Waste, then waste the Caracas, then draw a Thespian Stage, then make Merit Lage. I think Cross and Grip is still his best out.
Yeah.
Cross and Grip, find Loam.
Good. Thankfully for him, he looks like he did find the Loam, but thankfully for him, he does have those Mazaviths that are holding back the fort right now.
Remember, Embry has 6 different ways to draw Helm of Obedience here, and if he does, that will be good enough.
Yeah.
And Crop Rotation is going to be cast by Marsh Usury. He's going to go ahead and sack the Dark Depths away, actually.
He does have a second Dark Depths in his deck.
Yeah, he could alternately find the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. That's another one of his one-ofs that he could find. That will certainly put a lot of pressure on Brian's mana.
And that's exactly what he finds there. And, Tabernacle, one of those cards that very expensive cards.
One of the reasons we don't see that many lands players. It's just a one-of, so you don't need one, but it's...
And Brian can actually activate Caracas to bounce the Tabernacle. So he can sort of play around it.
And Caracas actually can bounce any legendary permanent, not just a creature.
So Caracas kind of keeping that in check. So I don't think Tabernacle is going to have that much of an impact in this game. Now Brian's basically just going to attack with all his creatures, including Mother Runes.
One of the few matchups where it's really safe to attack with Mother Runes.
Yeah, Mazavith can take out the Phyrexian Invoker and the Germ Token. but he's still going to take 2. So not a fierce clock, but at least it's something.
What a clock. Damage has been dealt.
Yeah, it is a clock. Now Brian here, I don't know if Brian has 2 cards left in his hand. Is it the helm? There it is.
All right, now Marsh really needs a Croson grip.
And let me read that card. Helm of Obedience. Yes, it still does what I remember it.
Yep. If Brian survives to the untap, he will have the game.
Yeah, because the Helm of Obedience in combination with Rest in Peace, for those of you at home who don't know, Helm of Obedience's ability is basically X and tap it, put top card of target opponent's library into his or her graveyard.
It mills them until
and if you don't hit, you keep going. And if the last card put in the graveyard is a creature card, bury Helm of Obedience and put into play. So it keeps going until it hits a creature. Unfortunately, because of Rest in Peace.
Or until it mills X cards.
Until it mills X cards. But the problem is that Rest in Peace doesn't put cards in your graveyard anymore. So effectively, you just lose your entire deck.
Yeah, it exiles their whole deck.
Yeah, so for 1 mana and tapping Helm of Obedience, you effectively win the game.
See, if Marsh drew Croson Grip, then he's got it. Otherwise,
yeah, so Croson Grip actually, he has to go. Well, it's still fine because he still has to go with the Rest in Peace. But
yep, you just hit the Rest in Peace with it. To be fair, though, Brian would well, I was going to say Brian could start milling Marsh a bunch, but I don't know, he wouldn't even want to do that.
Yeah. So it looks like Helm of Obedience was activated in the upkeep here.
This is with all the Tabernacle triggers on the stack.
Or no, he's going to pay 1. With Tabernacle's on the stack, he's going to pay 1 for the Germ token, and now he's going to tap Caracas to activate Helm.
All right, and so does Marsh have the Croson Grip? Yeah, Marsh may not be familiar with this combo. The unfortunate news is that he's going to lose.
Yeah, he's wondering, like, why are you playing this card? I have no creatures in my deck. What's the big deal?
That's strange.
What a weird mill deck.
You're trying to mill me? That's bad. I would love you to mill me.
I have Life Below in my deck. So, yeah, it looks like the judge is providing the Oracle text on Helm of Obedience, just to kind of get an understanding in terms of how it works here. And it looks like, yep, that is what's going to happen. The graveyard will get removed from the game.
The library.
The library rather, is going to get removed from the game.
Well, that'll make it hard for Marsh to top deck and out.
Brian's going to draw a card for his turn. He's still going to be doing stuff. He's going to activate Thalia.
Cast Thalia?
What is...
Pass the turn.
I wonder what Marsh's plan here is.
How do
He's got no library.
Library. That will do it.
He does have a life, so... Yeah, okay. For a second, I was wondering. I was like, is there a card in his deck that we just don't know about?
Yeah. And then what is a pretty rare victory, Death and Taxes, piloted by Brian Embry, is actually able to defeat lands there.